Hey, soldiers, Nancy Pelosi has got to be one of the greatest investors of all time. Forget about Ben Graham, Warren Buffett. Those guys don't hold a candle to Nancy Pelosi. And let me tell you about her latest feat of investing acumen. She sold out of $3 million worth of Google stock. She said, you know what? The time is right. I'm getting rid of this Google stock. And lo and behold, just a few weeks after she did that, the Department of Justice and 8 states sued Google over its monopoly on the digital ad market. Now, this is just amazing. And I know what you're thinking. Well, she was the Speaker of the House. Maybe she had some inside information that allowed her to know what was going to happen in advance. But in order to believe that, guys, you got to believe that a congressperson would engage in insider trading. Now, we all know they're more honest than that. She wouldn't do it, would she? Of course she would. This wouldn't be the first time either. So there is a senator that's trying to put the brakes on this activity, insider trading by Congress. You're not allowed to do it. You saw what happened when, what's her name? The home and garden woman, Martha Stewart. When she did it, it ended up with her in a prison cell, right? Martha Stewart was down baking cookies in the mess hall and, crocheting blankets down at the prison yard. It wasn't pretty. But Nancy Pelosi, she's done it again and again and again, and so have other members of Congress. Paul Pelosi, to be specific. Now, Nancy Pelosi would say, well, that's my husband, and notwithstanding the fact he likes to meet with strangers in the night, in their underwear, this is 2022, let him live. He made those trades. There was absolutely no pillow talk. I didn't speak to him about the possibilities of a DOJ suit while we were eating expensive ice cream from our $20,000 refrigerator. That never happened. So, Paul Pelosi sold 30,000 shares of Google from December 20th to December 28th, according to a financial disclosure filing. The former House Speaker submitted this filing to the House Ethics Committee. So she is still required to submit this information, even though she didn't do it personally. The rules say, look, it's your husband, lady, okay? This is not your second cousin 8 times removed from your stepfather's side. No, this is your husband. Now, they're not disclosing the profit they made from this trade, but it did, as I said, it proved timely because just Monday, the 23rd, I believe, of January, the Justice Department and attorneys general from 8 states, including California, sued Google over its monopoly on the digital ad market. The lawsuit could force Google to break up its online ad business, which generated nearly $55 billion in revenue for the company in the most recent quarter. In fact, that is the majority of how Google makes its money. Google's stock has dropped around 6% since the Justice Department announced the lawsuit. I bet it has. That would upend the apple cart over at Google in the same way that Google and Apple kind of collaborated to stop Facebook from being able to obtain certain demographic information from Android devices and from the Android platform and from Apple devices. And this has really thrown a wrench into the works as far as Facebook's ad technology. And as you know, the company has been, it's seen better days as far as its stock. There's also a question if Facebook and all of these other advertising mega tech companies, with regard to how much of this traffic is actually real and how much is bots. So you got a lot going on here that throws some questions out there and kind of muddies the water as to the faith in the platform's ability to reach actual people. So Google stock has dropped 6% since the revelation that the DOJ sued them. But Nancy Pelosi was able to get out before that drop because she had foreknowledge of what was going on. Please, she was the Speaker of the House. That's 2 heartbeats away from the president of the United States in the line of succession. So please don't try to tell me that one of her friends, that woman's been in D.C. forever. She had someone tip her off. She keeps her ear to the ground. She knows what she's doing. And she also knows that right now there are no consequences for what she did. Insider trading is what she did. And those trades are the latest in a string of questionable transactions for Paul and Nancy. They saved roughly $600,000 in June by selling shares of microchip maker Nvidia weeks before the U.S. government placed restrictions on the company's business in China and Russia. The Pelosis have seen their fortunes grow $140 million. It's grown by $140 million since 2008, thanks largely to Paul Pelosi's stock trades, which we know are informed by data he receives from his wife. And this is according to the Washington Free Beacon, the part where the $140 million is what they made. That last part I put in there. I know he's telling his wife, Nancy, is telling him what to expect and what he might want to think about doing in terms of trading based on the information she gets from being a swamp creature / DC insider. Pelosi's stock market charades have sparked calls for tougher regulations on members of Congress cashing in on their positions of power. These are the same people that write the laws that will put you under the prison if you traded on insider information. So now that brings us to Senator Josh Hawley. He's a Republican out of Missouri, and he is authoring a piece of legislation he's calling the Pelosi Act. And this act is designed to stop insider trading in Congress. Senator Josh Hawley introduced legislation Tuesday, that was the 24th of January, 2022, aimed at preventing insider trading by members of Congress by barring them from trading individual stocks. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. You're probably saying, well, look, would this have prevented Nancy Pelosi from, Paul Pelosi rather, from doing what he wanted to do? When you get certain financial licenses, certain prohibitions do extend to your immediate family. And look, this is legislation. They can write it any way they want. Check this out. The Preventing Elected Leaders from Owning Securities and Investments, the Pelosi Act. You know how they love these acronyms. So Pelosi, it just happened to spell Pelosi. I mean, this is like the weirdest coincidence. Wasn't designed that way, but it's called the Preventing Elected Leaders from Owning Securities and Investment Act. Stunning coincidence that it just so happens to spell out Pelosi. This act would require lawmakers and their immediate family members to use qualified blind trust, a method of investing in which an independent manager buys and sells assets without the knowledge or consent of the owner in order to avoid real or perceived conflicts of interest. Now, let me tell you where this is going to run into trouble. First of all, it's good to see that a senator is authoring this legislation because the Republicans have the House. So, you might think at first blush, well, it'll pass both of those houses. And hey, it might. Biden will never sign it. Come on. Biden's running a slush fund through the Ukraine. There's no way he's signing something that will prevent, his colleagues, his former colleagues, from engaging in insider trading. Okay. That's just Biden. Biden is, he's a corrupt individual. So he's not signing it. The other thing is this. You're going to have some pushback because when you think about the 500 members that make up the House and Senate, I know that Paul Pelosi is not going to be the only one who is a spouse that is a professional investor. Now, if you got a professional investor, that's going to be a tall order to tell him or her they cannot invest on their own account. They got to go through a blind trust if they're spouse is a member of Congress, House or Senate. So that's going to run into some issues right there. It's a nice gesture. I personally don't know if the bill's going to have a lot of success. Under Hawley's Act, members who refuse to do so would be required to forfeit their stock, to the U.S. Treasury. For too long, politicians in Washington have taken advantage of the economic system they write the rules for, turning profits for themselves at the expense of the American people, Hawley said in a statement. He went on, as members of Congress, both senators and representatives are tasked with providing oversight of the same companies they invest in, like Google, like Nvidia. Yet they continually buy and sell stocks, outperforming the market time and time again. Now, I have said this in a previous report. If you can't beat them, join them. Nancy Pelosi, whose husband is a professional investor, she's required to file a disclosure form that pretty much reveals what she has invested in, bought, or sold. And it's public information. You can take a look at it. Now, let me caution you, these reports are not real time, okay? So it's quite possible that she could have purchased something months before you actually see it disclosed on the report. Same thing for sales. Now, this information is public knowledge, though, so you can use it as an aspect of your due diligence, but don't just follow blindly. Oh, Nancy Pelosi did this last month. Let me do it. Remember, she is not only receiving information, but a lot of times these high-level politicians are also able to manipulate the situation by drafting legislation, some parts of which you will never, ever see because some of these bills are just so voluminous and the congressmen and the senators don't even have time to fully read and understand what's in the bill in total. Okay, so you cannot use these disclosures as, well, I'm just going to follow blindly and invest in whatever I see that's on that disclosure list that Pelosi has got shares of or got read of, things like that. You can just look at it at a glance and say, okay, this is a small, very small portion of my due diligence. If you see that she bought something and has been holding on to it for a long time, it might seek to serve you in terms of a small bit of confirmation that your strategy and all the other due diligence you did is warranted. But on the other hand, if you see her hurry up and get out of something that she's held for quite some time, maybe she knows something or has influenced the situation in some way that she knows this thing's going to drop. Okay, that's just the kind of person she is. She's all with insider trading, but will lock you up and throw away the key and excoriate you if you're guilty of it. Right? Remember what I said, people? Hollywood for ugly people. That's what DC is. Now, it wasn't always that way. When I was in DC, okay, when I was a lobbyist, it certainly wasn't Hollywood for ugly people because I was there. But it was before, and the moment I left, it became Hollywood for ugly people once again. All right, guys, now I want you to look at this report we did a couple of days ago, how the wealthy are destroying the middle class. The wealthy elites, they hate the middle class. You will not believe. Trust me, this is not clickbait. You're not going to be able to believe what John Kerry, this guy almost became president of the United States. You will not believe what he thinks about you and what he said. Watch the report. Guys, understand how the wealthy are trying to destroy the middle class and just have us be subservient and living at a subsistence level. We got to resist that. We got to strive for economic independence at every turn. Check out the report, guys. I'll talk to you soon.